camera list this evening, so not sure where I left that. We got it, good. So we'll call to order the regular school board meeting of the Madison Central School District for Monday, September 12th. Mrs. Sims is on business on an airplane somewhere between here and California. So otherwise, though, we have a quorum. Mr. Brooks will record the members present or absent. And we'll go next to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next item is approval of the agenda. And when we get to personnel action, we'll have one change in the personnel action, but that will not in any way affect the agenda. It'll just be an item that we have as a part of our consent item. So at this time, I entertain a motion that we approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mrs. Thompson moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approve the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Declare agenda approved. Let's go dig. All right, what a wonderful opportunity and tremendous thing for the students of our district. So, on to the next item, then item number 7 is approval of consent items 8 through 11. We have our minutes of our August 8th meeting that we're looking at. Mr. Miller and Mr. Nelson and myself went through a lot of money of bills tonight, but everything seemed to be in order, paying off some of our capital projects from summer and just things that it takes to get the school district going. Mr. Nelson, Mr. Miller, anything there that you were concerned about?
Not I.
All right, Mr. Nelson, we're okay?
Looks well.
All right, personnel actions, we'll turn that over to you, Mr. Jorgensen.
Well, you can see we have a number of paraprofessionals, some library aid. Right down the line there on the contract lane change, there's one change there.
Okay,
In Karen Giles, it should say MA plus 30 to MA plus 45 on the lane change, just not BA, it should say MA.
and the dollar amount is correct.
Dollar amount's correct, just the lane is different than what's listed there. Other than that, the open enrollments, excuse me, this was, 8 through 11.
Yep.
One student had already been going here in the past, and the other
Okay.
student, they're both in the 9th grade actually, so we recommend that as well.
Okay. And let's talk just a minute on acknowledgement of early retirement requests. Historically, we have not gotten those this early, but we are acknowledging the fact that we have had 2 requests that have been submitted for early retirement effective the end of this current school year. And we will actually, other than acknowledge, we will actually act on those probably at our February meeting would be what we've historically done with those. But just to know that 2 of those, and we're acknowledging receipt of those at this time as a part of the consent items 8 through 11. I'll take a motion and then we'll have any questions or discussion following that.
So moved.
Mr. Moore moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the consent agenda items 8 through 11 signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Okay. Dawn, are you here to speak to us or
No,
just?
I'm just observing.
Just observing, okay, good. So I don't have to read 12, I like that.
Oh, it's all good.
Number 13, I don't believe we received any additional conflict disclosure statements. I had the opportunity as a part of our trip to Santa Fe to visit a little bit with the executive director of the Associated School Boards, and just come off a meeting with Representative Mickelson, and there probably is going to be some changes coming down the road and clarifications, but no one knows what those will be. But anyway, we'll continue to maintain that as an agenda item at least for a while, and then if we don't have any, we'll probably take it off and only add it as a special item. Next, on to administrator reports. Middle school report, Dr. Cook showed us a lot of what the middle school was doing. It also had a chance to look at that, got a chance to see what those new bleachers and the new tile in the middle school looks like. And you can't really tell it as much in the picture, but the new lighting is phenomenal in there also. No more waiting for lights to come on, and it's very, very bright and nice. Other things on the administrator report, Mr. Jorgensen?
Just a few items. As you saw it back, the parking lot, the top layer now was put on today. And we hope to have follow-up with the line striping in a relatively short time, we hope. But it's nice to see that being completed. State teacher mentor program, part of the funding formula, funding package that came from the legislative body last year, included a state mentoring program, and we've submitted an application to the state to run our own in-house program. Again, the funding will come through the state, but we have opted to run it in-house right now. So we have submitted that application. That has to be submitted by the 15th of September, so we'll be waiting to hear back from the Department of Ed on that.
Is there a timeline on that, or is it a long time that we hear?
We don't know. Yeah, can't give you that answer right now. Hopefully it's short, but I don't know that for sure. Enrollment, our junior K through 12 right now, enrollment's up. Currently it's up 19 students from the 2016-17, so currently we're at enrollment of 1,171 kids. Junior kindergarten through 12. Just this last week I had the opportunity to get into some of the classrooms. I plan to visit all the classrooms this first quarter. It's going to take a little time to do that. We have a few classrooms, but it was fun to get into the classroom, see the teachers, see the kids, and I will be trying to pencil in some time each week to get out and get into those classrooms. And the last thing I want to touch on is that we'll be hosting the ASVSD regional meeting on October 5th. That's a Wednesday, starting at 5:30. And the unique part about that is our Pro Start class will be showcasing their skills by with the preparation serving for the meal that night. And it's just another good hands-on opportunity for our students. So if you can make it on October 5th, it starts at 5:30. I think it's penciled to go to about 8:15 that night for closing time. So that's what I have for right now.
If you're planning to attend that, be sure you let Mitch know so he can register us for that. The reason for the registration is to help provide a meal count and things, and the ASBSD actually reimburses the district, and it becomes a little bit of a fundraiser also for our Pro Start folks.
So Wednesday night, I won't be there.
But you could come to Clear Lake with me on Tuesday, and we could fish in the afternoon and then go to the meeting, Charlie. Think about that one, okay?
You're gonna miss the meal.
Well, they'll feed us something in Clear Lake. I'm not sure what, but I'm planning to attend the Clear Lake one on Tuesday night and then also come down here and be here for the Wednesday one, so put me down. And if we have more than 3 of us, we'll have to obviously make that a meeting for the quorum laws and things. Mr. Brooks, anything from your side of the administration? No? Mr. Hanemichael?
Nope.
You were out splicing, nice you were out splicing fiber optics this weekend?
Yep.
And, everything. That hardware class came in handy, right? All right, so that pretty much takes care of things on the regional. I attended a Western Region National School Board Association meeting on basically Friday and Saturday in Santa Fe. Our executive team from ASBSD attended along with Dr. Pogany, and it was very, very interesting. A big part of it was to do discussions on and work with other states in terms of teacher shortages, which everyone is in a similar situation to where we are, and then also in the aspect of, we spent quite a bit of time on school finance, and you know, many of those states were very envious of our position and the way our legislature valued our teachers with that increased sales tax. And so it was kind of nice to be on the leading edge of things to talk about that. All right, on to item number 15. We're just going to present both item number 15 and 16 as for informational right now. These are policies that we have, and we'll start first with item 15, and there are basically 3 different policies that we have online. The first one is file GBG, and then we have a GBGR and a GBEE.
Little C?
C, I'm sorry, not G. C, GBG, okay. But the links are there. That's the important thing. So what we're looking at is taking a look at our current policies. We want to have you study those, and then what we would do if we wish to leave them as they sit, we'll take no action. If we would like to make some changes to those, we'll give those changes a first reading and deal with those probably at our October meeting. And then they would actually take effect in November and go from there. Mr. Jorgens, anything you'd like to add on that, or?
No, we just reviewed them a little bit, and there might be a few little changes for additional comments and some other items that we could maybe add to the evaluation, but we just need to take a look at it and see where we're at.
So I think what we'll do is, if you have any items that you would like to see changes made to, probably let the district office know, either Mr. Jorgensen or Mr. Brooks or Rhonda, and then we'll actually bring back any, similar to the way we do our regular policy review, we'll strike out what we want to change and put the new in there. So that's what we'll be looking at, and that'll be actually hopefully at least a first reading as we get into our meeting in October. We also have in place another policy, AFA, and that particular policy of AFA is evaluation of us as school board members, and is a similar type of policy, and I would encourage you to do the same with that on the evaluation of ourselves as school board, and take a look at that, and if you feel it's good, then we'll go ahead and work with what we have. Otherwise, we will make the same thing with changes and move forward from that point. Any questions by the board members on any of those things? All right, then item number 17 is the Health Insurance Committee recommendation. Mr. Brooks, you've been real quiet, so we're going to handle this one.
Our health insurance committee meets each year to determine rates and then plans offered and items like that. So what I thought I'd do is kind of recap what was kind of proposed with kind of notice. We used to have a plan A, which was a $500 deductible. We only had 2 employees that were on that plan. So one thing we did is we ended that plan end of September 31st this year. And we added a high deductible qualifying plan, the HSA plan, to that. And so then that was part of our changes with that. The dental side, it all stayed the same. With our plan B and our plan C, we had to adjust rates. If you looked at the fund balance in our health insurance fund, it's been declining over the last few years, and it's to its lowest point it's probably been since it maybe started after a few years. But with our rates, we took our rates up 29.5%. Not each plan went up that's the overall effect of the rate plan. Of that 29.5%, 45% of that was picked up by the employer, by Madison. That's through that $75 per month increase that was done through negotiation, and then 55% was picked up by the employee. The thing that's a little bit different this year is we have that HSA plan, and the price on the single plan is $435. So the group asked that we could use the $50 remaining to contribute towards their healthcare savings account in a match format. So if they put $50 aside, they'd match $50 aside, and then it would be the $485 that's used for the district contribution on that. And maybe that'll help get kind of started with that plan on there. We still have the $1,250 deductible and the $2,500 deductible for individuals, and then it just doubles for the family component on there. And then I guess one other change we had, we changed our prescription plan. They have about 5 tiers, and we just went from the top tier to the next tier down. It just encourages more generic along those lines. But those are the major changes we've had with our health insurance.
And those were things, Mr. Nelson was part of some of those discussions as a member of the committee. Mrs. Sims, myself, Mrs. Weavers was also there. It's been a long time since we've had any type of significant increase. If you'll recall, we've done increases in past years, $5 or $10 a year or per month. And those have all been paid for by the board. This is probably the first time in a very long period of time that we've had to increase considerably to the employees of the district. I guess the other thing that we looked at is we're still very competitive with other school districts in terms of what our insurance cost is versus coverage, and you know, it just is a sign of the times. We need to actually approve these recommendations because they now go into effective with the October payroll, correct, Mitch?
They'll start with the September.
September payroll.
October 1 is the official date.
Which would be the payroll that's dispersed on the 20th of September. So we need to take formal action to accept the recommendations of the committee. Mr. Nelson moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. Further questions or discussions? Before we approve, I just want to thank Mr. Brooks. He works extremely hard on that for us, and would like to have you be recognized for the work you put in to help us work through on that, Mitch.
Thank you. This was a hard year.
Yes, it
It's
was.
hard to pass those changes on to the staff.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval of that motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Declare the motion is passed. Item number 18 is something that, as I've been doing some looking around, there actually is a document called a school board handbook. Leah is the one who prompted me to find this, because when we were doing a little bit of orientation, I said, gee, we should maybe find something that we could go to. And as I began to look at that, I wondered if that was something that we as a board, remember a couple of years ago, we did financials, and Mitch did some explanations. If we'd like to take a chapter or two of that, now the old prof's coming through here, as assigned reading for the next board meeting, and then maybe have a discussion. I'm anticipating that it would take 10 or 15 minutes at max as a part of that. Steve, there will be no quizzes, so just a final test, okay?
So no prize?
No prize either on that, but as I went through it and looked at things, I think many of us understand those, but as I went through and looked at it, I think there were a lot of things that we could benefit by. We have a couple of ways we can attack it, and I think I already know which way you're going to choose, but attack number one would be where I assign each of you a chapter or two to lead the discussion on for that month, or I could lead the discussion. And like I said, I think I know the answer.
So moved.
I kind of knew that would be coming, so is that something, I guess we'll have a little discussion and we'll take a motion that we would actually enter into it.
It would be good for us.
My goal would be, there's 12 chapters, and probably by the time we got to May or June, we would pretty much be through things. Some of those are a little longer chapters, others are pretty much less. So if you're ready, we take a motion to say we're going to commit ourselves to, oh, that's maybe not a good word, but that we're going to conduct a book study.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Moore.
Second.
All right, and then the chair has the, so we have a second, so the chair has the option of assigning chapters? No. All right. We have motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of beginning the word book study, starting with our October meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Read chapter 1 and chapter 2. The motion has passed.
Get out.
It's pretty handy. I've gotten through probably half of it.
Oh, there we go, our leader.
New leader.
No, it is very, very good, and, you know, we've got several other options we could bring in and do some of the gavel training, et cetera, but I think, you know, we gain the most when we work together on things like this, so that would be,
When we started, or when I started, they had like a gavel training where you went.
Yep.
The new school board, does that still happen?
there's gavel trainings, not so much that you can go to, it's either online today, or it is the kind of thing, remember we brought Julie Ertz in?
Yep.
And we did a hybrid of gavel training the one time.
But for the, it was just, I was really green, but Vince took me down to a training session where it was just for orientation of new school board members.
Okay, they did that at the convention.
Okay.
They did that as part of the convention this year, and they're trying to, they actually did that on Thursday evening, and had that, and they also they did their president's one that time too.
I got a lot out of that.
Yep.
That was really-
Well, I think this book will remind us of a lot of these things, so. With that, we're into number 19, executive session, so we will plan that we're going in at about, let's say, 6:12 if somebody needs to make a stop for some purposes, and so I need a motion and a second to go into executive session.
So moved.
Okay, Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Nelson has the second.